Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and Co-CEO of Amway Global, Mr. Doug DeVos.
It's a joy to be in this business and to be in this industry and to be with all of you. Every time I have a chance to come to an event like this, it's a reunion. It's being with friends. It's being together with people who share a common passion about helping other people. And it's just a joy to be able to do that. And as you know, Brian, as you talk about a little bit with my family history, I've had that asked a lot of me, what's it like to be Rich DeVos's son? And I said, well, I really don't have any experience being anybody else's son, so it's good, it's interesting. And the best thing I can do to describe my father is to describe him as my dad. And that's who he was. Who you saw was the same guy I saw, but he was just my dad. But his love and his passion that he and Jay shared for this industry is something that we continue to share in our families, our family, the Venando family. And Brian, as you talk about being part of the DeVos family, my son is here as well, so we're kind of passing that burden on to him to keep it going. I was able to talk Dalton into coming along, so the family tradition continues, and I know many of you are in family businesses doing the exact same thing, continuing this business from one generation to the next, continuing to keep the dreams alive that you share so passionately. And it's just continues to be an honor for me to be part of this industry, to be able to see the iconic companies that have been around and have been leaders for so long, and to see the excitement and the enthusiasm of new companies that have just begun, that are just expanding, that are moving forward, that are bringing the vitality and life to this industry, just like we all want to do. And so as we mix that together, it's fun to be together and fun to be part of this industry. And so I want to just kind of spend a few moments tonight touching base on our belief and our confidence that we have as being part of this industry, the anticipation that we have for the future, the confidence we can look forward to what the future is going to bring, and maybe share a few thoughts and a few stories along the way about how to get there. It's interesting growing up in the business. My story's kind of simple. I didn't know that I had a choice to do something other than join Amway. We all, started in our basements. It was right down the road. Every event that we did was down at the company, or we had distributors up to the house. It was who we were as part of our DNA. And we loved it. We all wanted to be part of it. And I went to school and kind of went through the process there to learn a few things, and I had an interesting experience right after I graduated with a good friend of our family's, and kind of held me to account and said, if you're getting in this business just because it's easy, then stop right now and save everyone the trouble. With your last name being DeVos, you got a shot at getting a job at Amway. Venando too, there's two names, so it works pretty good. But if that's just what you're going to do, save everyone the trouble. If you're going to get into this business because you love it, then dive in with both feet. You've heard the phrase, if you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life, and I've never felt I've worked a day in my life. I've had a joy. The joy of my life has been being part of this business, being able to be active with what I do every day, to be active with and to see the things that you do. And as you look at some of the phrases and the things and the ideas that we talk about, I know you share the same passions and the same ideas in a very similar way. Sometimes I even joke we could take people's mission statements, just kind of mix them up a little bit. We could put them all in a pot, have a few beers, and spread them out and start over again. How fun to be like that. I go to a few other conferences now and again, and you see a few different industries and people talking to each other, and you can just tell they're not really liking each other. They're competitors, and it's dog eat dog, and it's kind of tough, and we're just all having fun. And I want to make sure we kind of just go through some of the foundations so that we keep having fun and that we keep moving forward as an industry. We believe that what we do together, what we do at Amway, what you do in your industries, is purposeful because it helps people. We believe that economic freedom leads to personal freedom, and that when we give people opportunities to have a business of their own, they will take it and they will run with it and they will do things we could have never imagined possible before. And they'll do it because it's their business, it's their life, and it's their future. What a joy to be part of that, to help people achieve that level of success, to help people take a step forward. And with that economic freedom, make the decisions in their lives that they want to make. Go to the schools that they want to go to, travel to the places that they want to travel to, give to the causes that they want to give to. Make the decision for themselves and for their family, and be able to do it with the confidence that they have financial resources to be able to make that decision. Economic freedom leading to personal freedom. And so we buy into that idea and that concept, and we believe strongly. We have in front of the headquarters building at Amway, we have what we call as a display, the 10 pillars of economic wisdom. And it simply talks about how the free enterprise system works, and how people, how people start with an understanding that nothing in life is free, and they're going to have to work for it, and they're going to have to be productive about it. And as it goes through the stages of these 10 pillars, these were actually written in the 1930s by the American Economic Foundation. It was displayed at the New York World Fair in 1964. We bought the display sometime after that, put it in the 10 pillars out in front of our headquarters building so that we'd always remember what the free enterprise system stood for. And as it goes through and it talks about human productivity and human success, it says they will always be more successful when the tools of production are in the hands of the millions of progress-seeking individuals. Always more productive when they're in the hands of the millions of progress-seeking individuals. I think they wrote that for our industry. I think they wrote that for our companies as we work with those progress-seeking individuals. And that will never end. For those of you who have businesses that operate around the world, and even whatever market you're operating in, the most advanced or those just developing, there are people everywhere looking for a better life, looking for a better future, and they need a hand to help them. And that's what we have the opportunity to do. So as we kind of put a few pieces together here, I just want to kind of share a few thoughts about that. I want to make sure we establish that foundation. And that we establish that foundation because this is an industry that's focused on people, the ideas, the aspirations, the hopes of people. Many years ago, my father was in Malaysia. We had just opened up the business there, and we were having a convention. In those days, when you arrived, we had a company plane. We were all in the plane together, flying around as a family, and we ended up in Malaysia. And those days, people could come out right in the airport, walk around, and welcome him. We had a few thousand people there greeting Dad as he came there. It was a bit of a chaotic atmosphere, kind of fun. We had our first convention. The business was growing. Things were going well. And in the process, Dad had a chance to meet with the Prime Minister of Malaysia. And they had an interesting discussion, and as it got to business issues or economic issues, the Prime Minister said, it's a tough time for us here in Malaysia. And it's tough because in the global market, the main natural resources of Malaysia are copper, tin, and oil, and the prices are depressed in the global marketplace, and so it's really having a negative impact on our economy, and so things are pretty tough here right now. But then he kind of laughed. He said, I heard you arrived at the airport. A lot of people to greet you. It sounds like your business is going well. You just started. What's the secret? And he said, well, Mr. Prime Minister, it's simple. You may think that the greatest natural resources of Malaysia are copper, tin, and oil. But we believe the greatest resources in Malaysia are the people of Malaysia. And our business focuses on people, just like your business does. And if we start with that foundation, and if we make a commitment to stay true to those principles and to those foundations, we will build a future for this industry that will continue to be stronger and better every step that we take. And that's what I would love you to take away from this. I believe we're just getting started as an industry. I know we have many companies in our industry that have long, wonderful histories and legacies, but I believe for all of us here, our best days are ahead of us. The future is what we're talking about. Every time we celebrate an anniversary, we had our 50th anniversary a little while ago. That's great. We had a lot of fun. But there's somebody new that's getting into our business today that goes, that's interesting, but what's important to me is my opportunity looking forward. And if we keep our minds around that, I think we'll be just fine as we move forward together as well. So I got a few things to maybe touch base with, maybe some ideas we can take away from a night like tonight. And I know you've heard great ideas. I'm almost embarrassed to try to hit on some things or to touch base on a few things, because I know the speakers that you've been listening to and working with, and that the whole programs have been absolutely excellent. But I'll try to give my spin on it, my take a little bit on a few things from our history that might be helpful for you as you go forward and as you take your businesses forward from a conference like this. You've made the investment, and Brian's right, you've made the investment of time to be here. So take the steps forward from here. Well, the first thing I'd encourage you to think about as you leave is to keep an adventurous attitude. An adventurous attitude. Keep that optimistic view of the future. You know, I talk a lot about our history as a company and what my dad and Jay did, and they did a lot of crazy things. They were pretty nuts, actually, when you really kind of think about it. And I remember asking them once, I said, well, why? Where'd you get this sort of attitude? Where'd this confidence come from? I said, well, it was World War II. We survived. You survived World War II, you think you can do anything. Now, we're alive. We made it. We came back with that attitude that we could do it. We were going to do something. And so they started a business that they had no business starting. But they didn't know they couldn't do it. They started a flying school. Some of you may know the story, and I'm sorry if I repeat it, but they started a flying school after World War II. And the only trick about that was that they didn't know how to fly. It's kind of hard starting a flying school like that. The other trick was that they didn't have the airport done. So when they opened for business, there was no airport or runway. So they bought floats for the plane, and they flew it off the Grand River in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Taught people to fly that way. No, they didn't do the teaching. They hired instructors. They went out and got customers. And then at nighttime, they thought they got something else to do. We got more time on our hands. Let's start a restaurant. And Dad will tell you, you should be in the restaurant business once. That's a tough business. He says, everybody wants to eat at the same time. If they would just come in on a regular basis, we could plan. It would be great. But they all want to eat at the same time. Tough business. They had an adventurous attitude. They did the business for a little bit while, the flight school for a while, a few things. They didn't like being limited by weather conditions, and they didn't like being limited. They wanted a business that could be 24/7, and so they were trying to think about what to do with that. They said, well, let's get out of this business, and as they were getting out of the business, they saw a book called Cruising the Caribbean. They said, let's buy a boat and sail to South America. Now, again, like the flight school, they'd never been on a boat before. They'd never sailed to South America before. They got lost. They got in trouble all the way down the east coast of the United States, bought the boat in Connecticut, started working their way down. They did so well, they made it all the way to the coast of Cuba before they sank. And he said along the way, every time we'd lift the boat and look, say, it's leaking a lot. And a lot of people in the marine go, no, it's fine. So we listened. All the professionals told us the boat was fine, but we sank. The interesting part of that story is, though, they didn't stop their trip. They were going to South America. They hopped tankers. They got from where they got rescued. They ended up in Puerto Rico. They got tankers and found their way down the islands, ended up in Curacao. They left the tanker there, got away into Colombia, went up the Magdalena River, went all the way around Latin America, South America, came back home, showed movies, told everybody about their adventure. And they just never stopped. Ask people a lot of times, well, did you ever dream you'd have a business like you have today? And they would shake their heads and laugh, say, no, we never dreamed anything like this. I said, what's the secret? How'd you do it? I said, well, we just went to work every day. But they went to work every day with an attitude that they were going to make the business better. What can we do today to make the business better? And I'd hope that you would have that same sort of adventurous attitude as well as you step forward and as you go to work every day and say, what can you do to make your business better? Well, the next thing to take away would be that I'd encourage you to really be observant and take stock of where you are. No matter how good your year has been, no matter how bad your year has been, there's something good in that past year and there's something bad in that past year. And to really look at your business and to look at the things you've learned now and say, where am I really? And pay attention to that. Some of the first things we did a number of years ago is we were kind of stuck in a place ourselves as a company and said, we want to get better. We want to get growing again in a faster pace, in a better way. First thing we did was invested in market research. Where are we? What are we doing? Where are we successful? Where are we failing? What's going well? What's going poorly? Really, not just my opinion, not just what I think or what I thought I heard. Where are we really? I read a book a friend of mine gave to me called Everyday Survival. Like Luis Gonzalez, I think, was the author of it. And in it, he talked about how our minds work. We go into certain scripts in our mind, and that's the way we're created, and that's the way we're supposed to do. So when I look and I say, well, that's a podium, I don't look at it and say, that looks like it could be a shoe, could be a chair. No, that's a podium. I got it. Your mind goes through these scripts, and as you build experiences, your mind goes to exactly what it is so you can think more quickly. But sometimes those experiences get you stuck. And he told a terrible story about the folks in Phuket at the time of the tsunami. Their minds told them they were on vacation. Nothing can go wrong. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's beautiful. We're here. Everything's great. And they never registered the fact that the sea went away, that they might be in danger. Never occurred to them because they had been thinking the same way over and over. I'm going on holiday. I'm going to have fun. It's going to be safe. We're going to be great. And they were washed away by the waves because they just didn't look. They just didn't pay attention. They just didn't go, that seems funny. There's something wrong with that. And if the animals are all going to higher ground, maybe I should pay attention. But how easy is it in business or in life where we've had experiences? I've been at this business for a long time. I've been doing this for a while. And you get stuck. I'd encourage you, and I trust at a conference like this or at a table where you're seated, when you're talking to people, that you're thinking about things really. Where are you really? Where's your business really? How are you compared to other people? Is it going well? Is it going poorly? Where can you improve? I always think of the observant thing when I think of my kids, because I have a daughter, Olivia, who never really pays attention to anything. She's the constant spiller in our house. She's the one who kind of grabs the syrup to pour it on the pancakes and runs her arm over the pancakes while she's doing the whole thing. She just doesn't pay attention. It gets aggravating. I might say a couple things that might be negative in my house when she does that, just maybe. I have a daughter who's going to turn 16 next month. She's a student driver. How are you doing with that? Anybody else have that experience? Yeah, they're great, aren't they? They're on it all focused all the time, right? If they could just get the phone away from their face, they'd be great drivers. But yet we do it in business. We get stuck in our patterns. Our minds think a certain way. I'd encourage you at a conference like this to think differently. Challenge yourself to see, where are you really? Maybe a good picture, maybe a tough picture. But I would guess whatever the picture looks like, you know you can be better. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. And then take the next step forward. You know, I had a funny experience years ago. I was not paying attention, really. I just started working in Europe. And usually what I wanted to do is go visit different markets and kind of understand what was going on in the market there. And, hey, what's happening here? We'll just do, meet with some of the staff, kind of look at some of the facilities and kind of have a little employee meeting maybe and talk about the business a little bit. And so I was kind of going through different markets, and I put Amway Switzerland on the map. So I go to Switzerland, and the general manager of Amway Switzerland, sure, come on. I show up, and he goes, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, just a normal thing. Love to see the warehouse, love to kind of see the staff, have a little employee meeting, that sort of stuff. He goes, Doug, do you know how many people work in Amway Switzerland? I said, no. How many? He goes, 7. And one's sick today. I said, well, this is going to be a pretty short day. I wasn't paying attention. How embarrassing. How silly. Not to understand where that market was and not to get stuck into the routine that I was used to, but to make sure I paid attention to the routine that they needed. Be observant. Pay attention. Well, the next thing that I have here is to set serious targets. If you're going to reach your potential, you better set a bar and you better be serious about it. A number of years ago, as we said about 6 years ago now, Steve and I were looking at projections, looking at the business going forward. We were growing, but barely, kind of hanging in there. A couple markets going up, a couple markets going down. And we just both at the same time, as we were going to have a meeting on it, we were both reviewing some materials before the meeting, it wasn't setting right. We said, doggone it, this business is better than that. We can do better than that. And I was actually walking down to his office to tell him that before we went to the meeting, and as I was going in, he was getting up to see me. And we just sat down and had a great dialogue about what are we going to do differently. We got to set targets. We got to be better. We got to challenge ourselves. We have more potential than what it looks like we're going to achieve. Where do you want to go? What are your targets? Really, not just pie in the sky stuff. What's the discipline to go through and say, that's where we're going. That's where we want our brand to be. This is where we want our business to be. This is where we want our distributors to be. This is where we want our customers to be. This is where we want our employees. This is the type of organization that we want to be. What is that? How do you get serious about setting those targets? We got involved, we've been involved in a number of ventures, but some of our family got involved in a health club in Grand Rapids. Great thing, right? Health clubs are great. Except between January 1st and maybe early February. You can't get there. 5 o'clock in the morning. Packed, right? Every parking space is full. Every machine is being used. People are working out like crazy because they made a resolution. Well, maybe middle of January, it's a little easier to get there. 6 o'clock, it might be busy. 5 o'clock is pretty open. By the time you get into February, you can go there anytime you want. Nobody showed up. Because all the targets we set for ourselves sometimes, that would be nice. I'd love to do that. What a great idea. I don't want to work for it, but that would be great. I don't want to get up early. I don't want to get sweaty. Exercise makes you tired and sweaty. I don't want to do that, but I'd love to be fit. It's a discussion we have with ourselves all the time. I don't think there's any place for that in a business sense. Where are you going to go? Don't make it just a soft target. Make it a hard target. Stay focused on it and make sure you get there to achieve it. We knew that we were going to have to think differently. As I said, we invested in market research. We wanted to get beyond ourselves. What we said, Steve and I said, what we think might be interesting, what the staff thinks is interesting, what our top distributor thinks that might be interesting, but what the consumers think, that's important. And we better pay attention to them. We better pay attention to what they want and give them what they want. We better pay attention to our new recruits, new distributors coming into the business, and make sure that they have the experience that they need. And we understand if we do a good job taking care of them, then the business will be just fine. The upline, the leaders, the company, we'll all be fine if we do a good job with them in the marketplace. And we began to start setting targets that we were serious about. We put money behind it. We put time behind it. We put our talent behind it. And if you get serious about targets and you focus on them, I believe you'll be amazed by what you'll be able to achieve. Well, and a couple more things just to touch on that we like to go through is always be able to be surprised. Learn continuously. I saw an interesting quote. It says, the definition of maturity is when you stop being curious. Isn't that interesting? How many times you've been in a meeting and some senior executive said, we tried that idea 20 years ago, didn't work. Tried that 10 years ago, didn't work. I don't want to know if it'll work now because I already knew it. Tried it before, didn't work, not going to work now. How easy it is to be negative. How easy it is to think you know it all rather than stepping back and say, I don't know. Market might be different. Things might have changed. Maybe the idea is not what I thought it was because I wasn't listening to you in the first place. Maybe I could learn something. from a different perspective. Somebody from outside our industry has come into our industry. Maybe they can teach us something that we don't know. We love to hear from each other, from different companies. That's great. What about other folks? What about other industries? What about other product categories? What about older or younger people when they join the business? What an opportunity to get curious again and to figure out how we could make it work. Learn continuously. We've had so many times that we've had to learn in our business where we've screwed things up terribly. We were in Europe at the time, and we were living in Europe at the time the wall came down between East and West, and all of a sudden, boom, our business in West Germany was open to the East, everything. And everybody went across the board. I think we sponsored like 1% of the East German population in the first year. Everyone became an Amway distributor. But the only problem was we didn't know how to support them or help them or do anything. We couldn't get products there. We couldn't do anything. And we thought the best thing we could do, we're going to scramble. We're going to airship stuff in. We've got a big shipment of products in. We're going to support them. We're going to do what we can. We got it, put it all in a truck, grab the driver, send him into the East, and we never saw that truck again. I said, oh, that's how this works. That was a tough lesson. But we learned. Figured it out. We weren't perfect. We made mistakes up one side and down the other. But we just kept trying. Learn continuously. And the last point I'd love to take is to say, you know what? Make it personal. Nothing changes until the leader changes. You're the leader. In your life, whatever role you have in your company, you have a leadership duty, responsibility, and opportunity. And nothing's going to change in your world around you unless you make the decision to change. What are you going to do different? Make it personal. When Steve and I began to look at the potential of the business and say, we can do more, we can be better, we had to look at each other and say, I guess that means we got to be different. We have to change. What are we going to do? We can't be the same and just expect if we talk, the rest of the world's going to change around us. What are we going to do? What are the things that we're going to need to do? We had to be more disciplined. We had to be more focused. We had to learn. We had to be adventurous. We had to be willing to take risks. We had to get involved and engage in ways that we'd never thought of before. We had to make the change. I would encourage you, as we talk about a business or an industry that's a people business, people industry, how you make it personal. This isn't about just numbers. It's not just about money. Right? There's two things we all know about money, right? You can't take it with you and it won't make you happy. So why focus on that? We know you need it. It's a tool to be used to build your business, but if our businesses keep our priorities straight, we'll stay focused on the people. And we'll use the money to serve and support the people. Not get it the other way around. Make it personal. These are friends. These are relationships that you have that endure. That's what you want. That's what's important. So I think those few things, I hope will be helpful. And I hope you do make it personal. A number of years ago when I had that chance to move to Europe, Maria and I moved over there, and I was a little nervous about the trip. I didn't want to go. I was a little scared. It's different. Easy to live in Grand Rapids. Easy to stay home. She said, no, come on, we're going to go. And before I left, Jay Van Andel grabbed me and called me in. He said, I want to talk to you a little bit about this trip, about what you're doing. And we had a great discussion. And he told me a lot of good things I needed to know, but there was one phrase he used that scared me to death. He said, Doug, you know what? I'm counting on you to do a great job over there. I was like, excuse me? Counting on me? Did you notice I'm scared? Do you know that I'm inexperienced? Do you know that I don't know what I'm doing? Do you know that I'm sweating really bad right now? Do you know? Counting on you. And it wasn't until that assignment finished and I went back home and reflected on the incredible experience that I had and what I learned that I realized he wasn't just talking to me and he wasn't just talking about that assignment. That was his attitude and his way of talking to everybody in this business, in our business, and in this industry. And if he were here right now, he'd say, I'm counting on you. Not somebody else. Counting on you to do a great job, counting on you to be the leader, counting on you to make the changes, counting on you to be adventurous and take risks, counting on you to learn continuously, counting on you to do those things necessary. Take stock of where you are, set real targets. Counting on you to be the best that you can be. And I know that collectively, as we work together in this industry, we won't let him or anyone else down, because we will stay focused and build our businesses and this industry, and I'm excited to be able to do it together with all of you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.